I'm excited to jump in. I always like to kind of go over a little bit of what we're going to talk about. The main thing we're going to be discussing today is unique features of Best Bath products, our offerings, and in order to support you in differentiating yourself in the marketplace. We really want to help you be able to increase your revenue, increase your sales by having a clear understanding of some of our unique features. And I know that's an important part of what I want to discuss today. And I don't know, Robert, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I'll be joining right along with you on that.
Well, it's exciting. I always love when you and I get to jump on a call webinar together and just see what ends up coming out of our mouths because you never know. Robert, you've been with us officially for 6 years, but how long have you been in this world?
I've been in this world for about 28 years, so we're doing a lot with the HCBS world and the workers' comp, and those are some of the things that we'll be lightly touching on as we go through this program as well.
I'm gonna harass you. HCBS.
Home
Not
and
everybody knows
community-based
that.
services.
What is it?
Yeah, home and community-based services.
Anytime you use an acronym, I'm gonna make you explain what it is. MCOs?
Managed care organizations.
All right. And these are all important things. I think you're right. I think these are all different revenue streams and ways to come to market. And uh, you like to use your acronyms, and half the time I don't know what they mean until you remind me. So um, I love. I'm going to call you out whenever you slide one in there.
Sounds good.
Well, I'm going to do a little screen sharing and just jump into one of the tools I probably utilize more than anything else, and that's our Engage software. For those that don't know what Engage software is, it's a company we partnered with a few years ago to help build really engaging, hence the word engage, engaging presentations for you to use out in the field. If you don't have access to the Engage software yet, reach out to your regional sales manager, reach out to us, email us after this call's over. This is a free software we provide as a benefit for being a dealer. So it's tools, again, these are tools for you to use out in the field. We'll probably go over a few tools today. This is one of them for your sales reps, for your team, to be able to have access to these presentations and be able to show them to customers. So I'm going to jump into this Engage presentation here and attempt to use technology and screen share. Wish me the best. It always takes a split second. Did it work, Robert G?
Yep, you're on.
Love it. Look at that. So this is one of our presentations we've had built. This is just a really cool way to be able to show off some of our unique features that we're going to be talking about that really help differentiate yourself between, what your competition's out there doing. There's a lot of competition in the wet space world, and being able to separate what you do versus what they do, especially since, at the end of the day, pricing ends up being all very similar. Being able to show off, what this product offering does for the customer. There's what it can do for you internally versus what it can do for the customer. Part of our story is part of what differentiates yourself in the market. Robert, do you want to touch on kind of how long we've been around for?
So one of the unique sales propositions that we have is that we're boutique-ish. So when you're working with your client or you're in front of the loved ones that are looking for some help, one of the nice things is that people like to know a little bit about the history. They like to know where things come from. You buy something from a box store, you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know where things are at. And again, showers are very intimate. This is something that they're going to be living with for a lifetime, with our products. So going through the history of our company, been around a little over 55 years, and it gives some nice talking points. So it's always a nice way to kind of start the introduction and when you're talking with your client or the loved one that is needing help.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think especially in the world we're in right now, having it be a family-owned legacy company, now on its second generation of ownership with the Jay and Megan Multanen as CEOs of the company, and their long-term plan is to continue to be a legacy company. And so when you're talking to your customers, really leaning into that, we're not a conglomerate. This product hasn't been bought up through all the different big major corporations, and we are still family owned. We are still small. We have two factories throughout the United States, one based in Idaho, one in Tennessee. We've we've had customers come by and take a look and see how their product is made before. You're able to come by and do factory tours. And then that allows us to do some things that other companies can't. When, there's a particular problem that you need solved, we can work with you to help you solve that because we are still limber enough to be able to make those quick fixes as needed. So just as kind of what Robert talked about through our Ingage presentation, we go through some of the big major things that have happened throughout the history of our company. A big one is the release of our first line of barrier showers. That's really kind of what took us on the trajectory we've been on to be, kind of the experts in that home modification accessibility world. And kind of leaning right into that, in 2022, we acquired our walk-in tub company, and that's the factory that you have down there in Tennessee, where we now are American-made walk-in tubs, which are hard to find anymore. Most of the products that are walk-in tubs are coming in from overseas. I can't think of really a lot of companies that are manufacturing walk-in tubs here in the US anymore. A lot of them may be assembling them. Is that correct, Robert?
Yeah, they're assembling, but there's very, very few shells that are made here.
So those are just some of the, just right off the get-go, being able to talk about who we are as a company and really connecting with your customer about where the product's made, how it's manufactured, and who the company is that is manufacturing it. I'm sitting here in our factory in Idaho right now as we speak, and I can look out the window and little things that our company does to be good stewards of being an organization. Like we've invested, I don't know how many dollars to put a whole solar panel system on the roof of our factory. It's one of the only factories that I know of that is able to run with utilization of solar. I'm looking out the window and there's 6 charging stations for people that own electric cars. So we do things like that to be good stewards as an organization. Jumping into the product a little bit, Robert, I love this blow up of the actual shower and the multi-piece system. Do you use this one a lot when you're talking to your customers?
Yes, I do. In fact, one of the key words that I like to use is it's a single component product. Where the value add is for the client is there's not multiple layers that are being installed, because like a lot of traditional, you have a hardboard put up, you have an adhesive put up, and then you have panels that have to be cut and scribed. Where ours already come that way. So as you can see, the 5-piece unit, it makes it easier for one person to be able to do the install. You're not carrying 4x8 sheets, up through the second story trying to get it into the bathroom. And with that product being the way as versatile it is, you're not spending a lot of time cutting. It's strong enough to where we know most pockets aren't perfectly square, but our product allows for you to kind of move it, shim it, adjust it slightly to where then it fits in that pocket pretty nice, lines up easily. And being a single component product, you don't have to put any blocking in your walls to be able to do installs with your grab bars or your shower doors. Screws right to our walls. And then we have a trim kit. If you're not doing patching and painting, we have a trim kit that goes around and you don't have to affect the rest of the area. So pretty strong unit, has a lot of durability. And I say that, our units go together pretty close to Legos.
Yeah, I think Legos is a good comparison. I love this picture, whether it's in one of our print brochures that you have access to or this Ingage presentation. When I talk to customers about multi-piece systems, this one really shows how it goes together. And so being able to show this to the customer, I got to give Robert kudos. He came up with the single component system term about 2 years ago, and I have stolen it as my own for the last 2 years. I use it all the time. That term single component really does have a big like a big impact for your customers. Anytime you have multiple components, anytime you're doing a tile shower, a liner, an acrylic liner, for whatever it is, you have to use other products to be able to install it. You have to use cement board, you have to mud set, you have to put up backing. And there's all these different things you have to do when you're using other products, which make it a multi-component system. Why that's important to your customer, of course, there's a ton of benefits to you as the installer, as the company putting in the unit. But from the customer's perspective, those are all failure points. The more failure points you have, the more opportunity for things to go wrong in the future. These are single component, what I call commercial grade. For those that don't know, Best Bath has been heavy in the commercial market for the entire time we've been around. Still, year to date, last year, we were about 70% of our business was commercial. So we're in university housing, senior living, multifamily. When we build our commercial product, it's made to last the life of the building. Like that's what we talk about in our commercial sales process. When we started manufacturing residentially 20 years ago, the process is the exact same. So this truly is a commercial grade product being utilized in a home. So it's a single component system that reduces failure points. So for your homeowners, those are areas that you will less areas for failure in the future versus other products out there. That's why for me, that single component versus multi-component is so important. Does that sound right, Robert?
Yep, dead to rights on that one.
Yeah, it's such a like for you guys all day long, it's great. Your guys show up to the job, they demo down to studs, slap this in, Lego it together, done. Customer doesn't really care about that other than how quick we can install it. What they do care about is how long is it going to last? What issues are they going to have in the future? And having it be that single component system really does help with that. I love the little blow ups during the presentation. Again, when I'm utilizing this, talking with a customer, I can go through and show them how our panel's made. And at this point, once I've got that up and I've explained how our system's made, I would then pull out one of our wall samples and I get to hand them that wall sample. Again, if you don't have a sales kit, make sure you reach out to your reps or us after this call. If your sales kit's old, let's make sure we get you some updated products for you to be able to show customers. But once I've kind of talked through with them how the laminate system is and how our single component system is built, actually getting to place a sample of that in their hand and see the difference between our product and maybe the company that was in there before you pitching them on a product, being able to touch it and feel it's a big deal. Just moving on to just some quick tidbits, like we have a full range to kind of meet whatever your customer needs. So being able to meet the needs if they need a curbless design shower for more accessibility, if they need a standard shower, if they need a tub shower, seated shower, we have a full range of product, a full family of offerings. We've really narrowed it down in our presentations for you and your team to be able to, in an ideal world, give them the information they need that day. And if they're ready to move forward with that. Outside of this, we have thousands of sizes. So even if you don't see something on our presentation, when you go to our website, there are so many options out there. Sizes, tile designs, patterns, single piece, multi-piece,
Now,
curved unit.
let me
Yeah, sure.
interject with that. So one of the other nice things about the way our company is, we can customize and modify any of our units. So when we talk about our standard sizes, you know, some of you guys that are in the Southeast and Southwest, you guys have a lot of tile jobs. Well, one of the problems on, you know, tile sets is sometimes the plumber does not have the drain exactly where it needs to be. So it may not fit a standard size. We have the ability to be able to keep our draft lines, which means there's no puddling on our pans, and be able to move our drain within 5 inches. So there is some customization that can be done when you guys are, you know, kind of dealing in some of those tough predicaments, especially on some tile jobs. That seems to be one of the number one problems, is that the drain's not located where it's supposed to. So we have the ability to adjust that about 5 inches for you, as well as other customizations to make it work.
It's funny, I think it's market dependent too. Robert's the king of customizations. He also covers the Northeast. The Northeast has homes that are a lot older than the Southeast. And so, like in my area, I don't run into people needing customizations a lot of the time because we have left-hand drain, right-hand drain, center drain. But the construction's different where I'm at versus where Robert's at. And so Robert runs into a lot of funky customizations up there in the Northeast. Is it typically the Northeast where you're running into that the most, Robert, in your area? Mid-Atlantic, or which one?
Yeah, the Northeast. You know, we're having some of the century homes and so forth. Yeah, we have a lot of challenges that way.
And you're able to solve those problems when they come up, right?
Correct.
Like you're able to help them design whatever they're looking for. I'm trying to read some of these questions or comments as they're coming in too. So Robert, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the different options in our thresholds?
Sure. So one of the things I want to clarify, because this is one of the confusing parts, people talk about zero entry and barrier free. So zero entry is when you are perfectly level with your existing floor, you know, and that's what would be our curbless, and being able to butt up to whatever your surface is, and or a layover, which this one's showing. So now barrier free means that there's just no large lip to be able to get over. Zero entry is more for your wheelchair access. So that sometimes people get a little bit confused on, you know, what they're actually needing. But with our curbless product, anywhere from, you know, directly onto the concrete, or being able to be recessed down to the subfloor or onto the joists, our pans can be able to support that for the weight. And again, it gives you more versatility to be able to make sure that you're providing that loved one or that client with, you know, what's absolutely necessary for their longevity of bathing.
That's
The
funny.
are we?
I was going to say, I had a barrier-free curbless pan that was an 1.5 inch threshold, wood bottom. And when my contractors were doing my bathroom renovation, my subfloor was completely rotted out. And they had to remove it. And when they're getting ready to replace it, I was like, well, don't do that. Just throw my pan onto the floor joists. And they'd never installed one of our pans before, and they were so confused. And I was like, it can go on the floor joists. You just have to put some support brace around. So now even though I don't need one in the future, if I do, I have a completely zero transition because mine is sitting recessed onto my floor joists with some bracing around it. And um, the tile floor butted right up to it. And then I used a semi-permanent threshold, and it's a normal curb shower. But if someday I ever need it to be zero transition, I have it.
That works out well. One of the cool products that we have also is the above the floor rough. Go to the third one there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of situations where the plumbing cannot be moved, or there's like a common wet wall if you're like in a triplex or a multi-family unit, and the plumbing goes horizontal to the floor into the wall. And so we have a whole line of pans to where we can kind of adjust for that. Or people that are doing a basement remodel and you don't want to tear up the basement floor, you're able to tie this right into an upflush system without breaking up the concrete to be able to, you know, run your plumbing. So a lot of versatility, a lot of options.
Well, I always learn so much when I do these with you, Robert. Up flush system.
Yeah, so a lot of times, like an upflush system is a toilet that has a motor in it, so it'll be able to push the water up to where the drain lines are. So a lot of times the showers are tied right into that.
Again, every time we do stuff like this, I learn a new acronym or I learn a new technical term that I didn't know before. So we'll see if I can fit an upflush system into my conversation someday in the next week. That's the challenge. This gets a little technical. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This just talks about the different heights of thresholds with our curbless units you can do. Again, it just really leans into the customizations and unique things that we can do for your customers as you get into some kind of more heavier design options, depending on how deep you're going. We have a lot of different ways to be able to support you in that. We have a lot of different drain options as well. We have a square drain, trench drain, center, like this, the circular drain. So we really are trying to lean into some more design aesthetics as well as functionality. That's where you're going to start seeing some additional unique features that you're able to offer your customers to kind of differentiate yourself in the market. You can see we have a full range of color selections from, you know, our standard whites to just, what are we calling this these days, Robert? Gray? Ice gray?
Just regular gray.
I know we changed the name of it recently. Chanel's probably going to comment on here in a minute to tell me exactly what it's called, but gray colored. When you're talking our solid colors, again, with our unique ability to meet the needs of your customer, we can do almost any color that's out there. If you like the blue background that you see behind us, we can match it and do an entire blue shower. One of our dealers that does a lot of business with us, JTech Solutions, they have a blue shower in their showroom with like a gold tile recess. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I've done a pink shower before. Robert, what's the craziest color shower you've done for your territory?
It was a, bright purple for a little
Oh,
child, and I mean it was you could see it a mile away.
and sometimes that's for just, Chanel says it's just gray, Grey, not Gray. Um, Sometimes that's for aesthetic, sometimes that's for design, right? We do a lot with people dealing with medical conditions. And so we've designed showers before where one of the tiles is orange, one of them is red, one of them is blue, for somebody with sight issues or autism, or, there's a lot of medical things that you can do that being able to do these type of customizations, again, differentiate you from your competitors in the market. Uh, Simple example, if you went, and I'll just throw my parents under the bus. You went into their house and maybe my mom is having issues with her sight. They could essentially do a gray pan with white walls to help with that transition. So everything's not blending together. There's little things you can do as people express what their needs are, as you're asking your questions to qualify what they're looking for, to offer them a solution that can be really simple, but really set yourself apart from whoever may be coming in before or after you to talk to them about a shower. I
One
know
of the
Robert's done a lot of stuff in that world for helping people with certain medical conditions they're dealing with.
One of the nice things also with the gel coat, two things. One is with your installer. I've been in the construction trades way too long. Things happen. You wear your tool belt, you leave a little nick on the wall or whatever. With gel coat, it's the same thing that's on a boat with the way we build this. So it's really easy to repair or buff out. Or if like the customer has hard water, they're worried about staining, they're able to clean our units extremely easy. And then if there's ever a damage, like, say there's a child that might be a little bit combative and, has angry issues and breaks something, our units can be easily repaired. That's why we give the 30-year warranty as well, because there's not a whole lot that can go wrong with it. And once that little repair is done, it looks like the same day as the first day it was put in. It's a very unique process that we have. It's very beneficial, especially for the installers, and the same as on the clients. They would really have to be majorly destructive to be able to tear apart one of our units.
I want to see the child that can damage one of our units. That would be that would have to be a fit, because these things they're not easy to put a nick in. Like, I've heard stories of back in the old days with Gary Multanen at trade shows. I don't know if this is true. This could be, old embellished stories, but from what I've heard, he used to stand in our booth when he was bootstrapping the company and hit our shower with a baseball bat to get attention about how durable it is. And if anybody that's met Gary, he's he's a the kindest human I've ever met, but he's also got a deep voice and loud and 6'5". And so he would stand in there with a baseball bat and hit it to get people's attention, to show how tough it was. So I want to meet this kid that can damage one of our units, Robert. You can dive into outside of just solid colors. We have stone options as well to really, if people are looking for that more granite stone look, we have the ability to do that in our units. Again, just offering different customizations. We're going to start talking a little bit about the tile recess. This is probably one of my most personal favorite things that you can do with our units. I probably sell more of this than anybody else just because I love it so much. I've put it in my own personal homes. I think probably one of the biggest objections you'll hear from a customer is, I just want a tile shower. Or why wouldn't I just do tile? Robert, you think that's probably what's one of the biggest objections?
Yeah, there is, because they think they can get more options or they can have more colors. Well, the problem is obviously as they get older, there's more maintenance on doing the straight tile. And where do you have the problems? You have the problems around the base and the inside corners. And so us being able to offer that tile accent, it's totally sealed into our single component product. The tile, we do not supply the glass. You guys will supply your own tile glass. It can be tile taped or epoxied in, grouted, and you're done. And what's nice is that our units are so durable, there's not a whole lot of flexing, if any. Two is where the tile recesses are typically are not where the heavy water patterns are. So you're not having any of that discoloration on that grout and so forth. So really gives a nice highlight, as Jason mentioned.
Yeah, so when that objection comes up about, well, maybe I'll just do a tile shower instead, or let's look at tile. Like, you get the best of both worlds with our product. Um, Having that single component system that they're able to, that's low maintenance, that is going to last the life of their home, that's easy to clean, that doesn't have a lot of the upkeep as a tile shower, especially for somebody that may be aging or doing that to do a modification in their home as they age. You can also offer real tile accenting, real tile design while utilizing our single component system. We're the only manufacturer that I know of, and somebody could prove me wrong, that offers a seamless tile pocket in our single component system. And so when their wall arrives, there's a pre-made pocket that's been designed by you for where this tile is going to go, and you don't have to do anything to it. You don't have to, all you have to do is apply your double-sided tile tape or whatever material you're going to use to adhere that tile to that pocket. And there's nowhere water can ever get behind the unit because it's completely seamless. Other manufacturers out there do offer tile accenting. They offer it by cutting the unit and putting tile on, or there's a penetration point, where with our system, there is no penetration point. It's a seamless pocket recess ready for you to do your tile insert. I'm going to use the example of the one I did in my home. I didn't know what tile I even wanted to use, but I installed the shower. It was used for 6 months without any tile even installed because it was a seamless pocket. And when I finally picked out my tile, it took me about 30 minutes to install the tile personally using a double-sided tile tape, and then I grouted it. Now, don't look at my grout job because I didn't realize you're supposed to wipe it off pretty quickly. So my grout job was pretty rough, but I did do it in 20 minutes. And the nice part is I also matched that tile, and you can see in this picture, this is a double band around the unit. So I have this in my home, a band around the top, a band around the bottom. But if you look close on the backsplash, it's the same tile. And I did that. I'm able to match what I did in my shower and bring it into the bathroom and give it a really beautiful design to bring everything tied together. And then you do have a few, we have some options that we've pre-designed for you. I've done the double bold in one of my renovations. So the whole sidewalls are recessed, and you can see it's a large pocket for tile, versus just a smaller band. I know we're getting close to.
Yeah, we're at our half-hour mark.
Close. All right. I'm not going to get into the accessories because I want to make sure I talk about, we've been working hard to bring on what we call, and I don't know if this name's going to stick, but it's called the perfect shower package. But when you're really leaning into design, we wanted to be able to offer some design focused accessories to go with our units. And so we've spent a lot of time bringing this in. It's now in stock, ready to start purchasing.
Jason, are
Where
you
we've
able
got
to
it.
expand your screen? It appears to be a little bit small on this side.
How's
Yeah,
that?
much better.
Just a PDF. I couldn't get like a full screen view of this, but I didn't want to leave it out there. So I wanted to make sure we talked about it. So I'm just using a PDF that we have for now. But it's bringing in some really nice design featured accessory kit. So it's a whole kit that comes with everything you need for the shower, but we're going to have it in chrome, brushed nickel, flat black. Not only is it a glide bar, grab bar, but it's a fixed head system with the dual valve. So it's, able to switch back and forth between the glide bar, handheld, or the fixed head. This is the first time we're offering a legless shower seat in any of our units or packages that's been tested with our system. So again, you can just mount this directly to our wall. You don't have to hit a stud when you install it. So we've got the design featured seats, the grab bars, and this kind of shows you what it can look like inside the unit here. Let's see if I can down it. So you can see, you know, this is what that accessory kit can look like. So we really are, you know, bringing in some accessories that can line up to some of the really cool customizations that we're doing with our showers.
It looks sharp. It really does. And
I just
the
want you guys to know, when we were testing the seat, I went out there and I sat on it and I bounced up and down on it, and I'm 230 these days and it didn't budge. And this is the first time we've sold a legless seat with our product, so it's pretty exciting. And then, of course,
much more of a modern look.
I think it's really important, again, differentiating yourself in the market, being able to be the solution for whatever situation you run into, knowing that we have a full line of walk-in tubs. So when you're talking to your customer, having the solutions ready, being able to provide them with answers, just having this in your back pocket. You don't need to be an expert in it yet, but know, oh, we can get a walk-in tub for you as well. And then you can always reach out to Robert, myself, anybody that's your support person for your team, and get you the information you need for our full line of walk-in tubs. We have outward swinging doors, inward swinging doors, all made here in America, ready for you to have access to when you need them. And these are just on our website as well, on bestbathshop.com. And if you're not using Best Bath Shop, again, let us know so we can walk you through that, because it's a great tool for you. Robert, anything before I close my screen share?
Nope, that sounds good. I tell you, it gives us 15 minutes or so to maybe answer a few questions. Chanel, what do we have waiting for us?
All right, we got some good ones. Before we jump into questions, speaking to the durability of our wall system and with this new Perfect Shower package, where Jason was talking about legless seat options, Jason tested is a thing around here. Like, we give him access to not intentionally break, but he somehow finds a way to test the strength of the ability of our walls. And so knowing that he went over there and he handled that seat and plopped into it like a user typically would, that says a lot about its durability.
Hey, Chanel, do you have the picture of him in the bathing unit that they tested?
I'm sure I could come up with something.
I'm sure our dealers would love to see that one.
Or the robot chair that I tested. We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, Jason tends to break things. So when we know it doesn't break, it's tried and true.
I want to make sure it's going to be safe.
I appreciate that. Speaking of accessories, there was a question on what the brand of accessories are in that package.
Delta Valve System is the main brand for the functioning mechanics of a product. So that's a Delta Valve System and Delta accessories. The grab bars, I believe, I don't know what the brand of the grab bars is. We partnered with Livewell to bring in our grab bars in the seat. Livewell is the manufacturer of the seat. They manufacture their own seat based out of Ohio for us.
Okay, and we can get that detailed information for the attendees as well. Okay, first question, does flooring require modifications for setting curbless pans?
I'm gonna let Robert answer that because he's got all the cool answers.
Yeah, would you repeat that question, Chanel, please?
Does the flooring, so I imagine the flooring of the bathroom, require modifications for setting curbless pans? So do you need to do any prep work?
Yes. So, you know, if you're pulling out like a 60-30 tub and shower unit, typically if there's enough room, I recommend trying to go to a 32, because then what you can do is scribe a line with that existing flooring, be able to cut a straight line, put a little bit of silicone down, and then set your pan. Can work. Now, also our B75B, which is one of our low thresholds barrier-free showers, it can also sit over top of the laminate and still meet ADA requirements, being able to get a roll-in shower chair in. So there is a little bit of prep work that way, but it ends up making things really nice and seamless. If you go back with the 60-30, a lot of the tubs might have like little flares on it to where the front of the tub's a little bit wider than the right and left side of the tub. So now you have those holes. So how do you cover that up? And that's always a difficulty. If you can go a little bit larger and then be able to scribe a straight line to be able to set the pan, you end up with a much nicer look.
But there is no mud set. We ship any low threshold barrier-free unit with epoxy needed to adhere it to the floor. The main thing is your floor has to be level, and then use the epoxy we send with the epoxy pattern we tell you to put the epoxy down in. But there is no mud setting or anything like that.
Awesome. There was a question for providing some images of our drain options, which I can do that in our follow-up email blast, but maybe can you just run through some of our drain options?
I would say 98% of what we sell is going to be the typical round center drain. But we are now offering the square drain option available in all of our pans. So you can get that instead of a round drain, it's a, 4x4 or 6, I can't remember the size, but a square to give it a little bit more design. And then in a handful of our sizes, we have the front trench drain available as well.
Awesome. How do you correct if the drain hole in the pan is slightly off from the floor?
Cut the hole bigger.
I mean, if it's a wood floor, most of the time you should be able to adjust your plumbing to be able to fit. And like I said, if it's really a funky circumstance, and hopefully you know this prior to doing the demo, is that we can offset our drains, in the factory so that you have a better possibility of a perfect fit.
And I think it's important to what Robert just said, like a lot of times you don't know until you've opened everything up that you can or can't shift your drain one way or the other. A lot of times there is a cost to us moving our drain a couple inches in our pans. It's not a free option. And so a lot of times you just have to evaluate, is it going to be less expensive for the plumber to just be able to move the pipe over 2 inches? And if there's room for that, if there's not, then that's when you look at the option of us moving the drain for you.
Okay. And what would you guess is the weight of a 60 by 32 curbless shower pan?
I'm going to go with 60 to 70 pounds, just because I just carried one the other day. What do you think, Robert?
I'm going to say the last one I just carried was about 44, 45 pounds. So I got a smaller one, I guess.
That's man math. You got to look at who you're. I want to look cooler, so I'm going to say 70 pounds.
I was going to say like 300.
It's probably like 45 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm the old guy. The lighter, the better. But in all honesty, the way that we have our units divided up into 5 pieces for anything that's 60, 30 higher really does make it convenient for a guy carrying it into the house. Now, when you get below the 60 inches is when we have 4 panels. So the back panel is a little bit heavier, but it's extremely manageable.
All right. We have a question on custom options, and I imagine this is probably a 2-parter, one for more simple customization like a drain movement versus a fully customized unit. But what are we looking at as far as manufacturing and delivery time?
So we'll use just a simple example. So if you have, say, a 60-30 inch unit, but you need it to be cut down to 28 inches, it will add about a week and a half to your lead time. But it will also, it will almost double your price of what your unit is. But the availability of being able to fit that into your spot that's where the foreman function comes in. Now, simpler things of just moving your drain, it adds 1 day to your lead time. And if I'm not mistaken, drain relocations is $500.
And I've done some really crazy customizations. It's pretty rare on my end that we're just doing like taking a 60-30 down to a 60-29. Most of the time when I'm doing a customization, it's doing really intricate designs and splicing one unit and putting a different unit together, making it a car wash, or, we have a whole engineering team on staff. And so when you run into these really weird situations, we can always reach out to our team and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, we just did one for a vet over in New Jersey, and it was a really odd size. It was an old block home. So the back wall was 44 inches. The left side wall was 30 inches. The right side wall was, I think it was like 62. And just because of the way the block home was, and it made it functional for that vet. So it can be done.
All right, and then a couple of questions on maintenance and cleanability. Let's see, what kind of maintenance do you recommend for your shower post install? And are they resistant to mold and mildew?
Yes, they are. So just, simple cleaning solutions like, I think one's called Shower Buddy. It does not need much. I mean, with the way our gel coat is, even with hard water, you don't end up with any of the residual yellow staining, hanging onto the walls because of how smooth it is. Again, the gel coat that we use is the same thing that's on a boat. So it's designed for this. And if you end up with a little dull area, just a little bit of buffing with a little bit of car wax, brings the shine back out and you're in good shape. Obviously, you don't want to use any caustic chemicals or anything gritty, but maintenance is a squeegee and maybe a little bit of Shower Buddy or Dawn dish soap. You do not need much. And our units also, we have little weep holes kind of built into the front of our units. So by any chance, if anything ever gets behind one of our channels, the channel actually directs it out to our weep hole. So mold and mildew do not occur because you always have air flowing.
I will not say what products I've used to clean my showers with because I go for just the chemical and I don't want to scrub anything. I just throw a chemical on the ground.
Do not listen to Jason.
No, I've never used bleach in there, I promise.
Next question. Do we offer any volume purchase benefits?
Yes, I am a huge fan of helping you support a bulk purchasing program. We've done a lot of it for some of our dealers as they've grown, help them become more efficient with how they're ordering, streamlining their orders and creating a bulk program to help you, be more efficient, have some cost saving opportunities and really be able to do more work. It's really some of the companies that I've done this with have, really been able to expand on how much they can do just by how they're ordering.
All right, and then someone wanted to know if you can go into a little bit more detail of our above floor rough option as far as how much room do you need underneath and a little bit more detail on the install.
So there's two above the floor roughs. The one is, I believe it's 6 3/4 inches high. So that way there's enough room to where a trap can actually be put underneath our pan. And then our side discharge above the floor roughs, everything comes out horizontal and there's a 2-inch 90-degree elbow right underneath the pan that will attach to your new plumbing. So depending on what your needs are, those are the two options that we work with for plumbing.
And it sounds like that was for a basement application, which currently we're working on a case study for a basement project out of Utah, where the homeowner got 3 quotes that were, 20,000 plus because they needed to move. They needed to dig into the floor, and our above floor rough offered a solution that was a lot more cost effective. So let's see, a couple other questions. What would be your top 3 talking points comparing Bestbath to acrylic?
I'd say for me, and kind of what Robert touched on, the single component system is just a huge one for me. Being able to showcase, again, being able to put one of our wall samples in their hand and saying, this is what you get with us versus this is what you get with the acrylic, where it's, basically paper thin over the liner. With the single component, you don't need any sort of wood backing, any additional support. Your product's not being glued to a wood back or green board. So single component, and then some of the design features with the tile recess, colors, and the commercial grade, being able to the longevity of the product. Robert?
Yeah, and the way the product is built, that's why we offer a 30-year warranty. There's not a whole lot of products out there that will extend that far. So just giving that to the customer as peace of mind is huge.
Okay, and a 2-part epoxy is very difficult to squeeze out of a gun. Do you guys recommend one?
So keep it warm. Get a hot box, a warm bath, hot water in a 5-gallon bucket, keep it in the cellophane that we ship it in, get it warm. As soon as it's warm, it does flow much better. Cold epoxy, you'll end up with Popeye arms, if not breaking your gun.
And I know a lot of the guys that are doing, because we have commercial projects and they'll install 30 showers in a day. They're using a power gun. So
Yeah.
I definitely get a power gun. If you're doing a lot of barrier free, if you're doing it consistently, it's worth the investment.
Yeah, and you still need to warm the epoxy. Very, very.
Yes.
Okay, and what about using a glass door on our showers?
For our curb units, no problem. For our barrier-free units, you'll have to use a glass company, because the way that our front end, our pans on the right and left, we have a little flare. It's called a dime cut, D-I-M-E. So they would have to modify the glass, do a dime cut on the bottom right and left, so that the shower door will be able to seat. And then they use those clear silicone pads that attach to the glass that then attaches to the our shower unit, and it works quite well. Now, obviously, if you're putting barrier-free units in, we don't recommend glass, because if a person's using a wheelchair, or you don't want to restrict the access. But if it's for somebody that still has their gait and able to, have more function, by all means, it works just fine. And then again, with the way our product is, they can just screw the unit, the shower doors right into our unit, and there's no issue as far as with strength.
Awesome. Did you guys have a make and model of a power gun that you recommend?
They all make them. You got Milwaukee, you got DeWalt, the Makitas. Makitas are a good line. So they're all pretty similar. Just depends on which power packs you're carrying on your job site.
Say, what batteries do you have currently? I have 6 DeWalt batteries, so I'm going to buy a DeWalt power gun.
There you go.
If you're a Milwaukee guy, you're going to buy a Milwaukee one. So whatever. I'm still laughing at Robert's, depending on what gait you have. Is it just gait walking?
Yeah. My clinical side coming out on me.
Final question. We do have some people on the line who are not currently authorized Bestbath dealers, but may be interested. What is the process of getting set up?
I think the easiest.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead, Robert. Nope.
No, very
Age
simple.
before beauty.
That's my line too. But on bestbathshop.com, again, bestbathshop.com, go over to where it says dealers on the top right. And then as you scroll down, it will say become a dealer. Click that, fill out as much information as you can. If you're a newer company and you don't have all your license, pardon me? Oh, so if you don't have all your licensures and stuff that's necessary, your resale cert, it's not necessary at that point. We can always add that into our system. Once it comes into our system, we give you a call. We talk about your business and what your needs are, to make sure there's a good fit. We also have what's called Trade Pro. It's one of our online services for guys that maybe only buy one a year or so forth, but we can discuss that and see what would be best for you. But it's a pretty simple process. It takes maybe about 5-8 minutes to fill out the information. It comes to us, and then we set up a call to, just kind of discuss to see how we would be your best fit.
Awesome. Easy peasy. Before we give you guys your final thoughts, I just want to remind everyone, I will send out the recording of this webinar, and I have a ton of notes on resources to provide to you guys based on your questions and some of the topics. So thank you for engaging, and keep an eye out for an invite for our next webinar series that we will be talking about how to boost your business with walk-in tubs. Any final thoughts, guys?
I appreciate everybody's time. As always, you guys know how to get a hold of us. Please reach out. Our job here is to be able to help you guys, kind of walk through what you need for your client, not you trying to figure it out on your own. That's why we're here to help.
I would just say, if you don't have a dealer kit, if you don't have Ingage, if you haven't gone through Bestbath Shop, reach out so we can get you guys set up with all those tools, because it'll really help just make your team's life and your life easier. And again, increase sales, increase revenue, close more deals, and help your customers.
Great. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks for joining.